The assignment will talk more about anchor points and handles because we're going to be using them there too. Assignment is we're going to be learning all about the pen and the pencil tool. Pen's the one we're going to be using most. We'll talk about pencil as well because it's there. Pen works better than pencil, I'll just tell you that right now. So if you have any questions, pen tool works better, yes. Although the pencil tool, I will say it has improved since it was a few years ago. It used to be a few years ago, I'd say, why are we even bother teaching about the pencil tool? Pencil tool's stupid. It doesn't work. It works a lot better now, so I'll tell you about the pencil tool. Pencil still works better. Curvature tool, that's a fairly new one. It is like the pen tool, but it works mostly for curves. The pen tool saved my butt last assignment. So you already know some of the glories of the pen tool. Yes, it's got a learning curve to it too, but it is very helpful. You can make all sorts of intricate, really great designs. If you want something easy to go through, we've got this little video here that talks a little bit about how to use each one.
Today we're going to learn a little bit about some of your primary drawing tools in Illustrator. We're going to start with the pen tool, which is right here. Now the pen tool is great for drawing line segments, straight lines. You do that very simply by clicking.
So there's that.
This will give you your first anchor point, your starting point, and then clicking again where you want that line segment to end. Now you notice that it'll continue to draw.
So that is a little reference video you have for the pen, pencil, and curvature tool. If you're like, what should I use in this one here? Most of the assignment's going to be done with the pen tool. It's basically an exercise sheet you're going to download and you're going to draw through it. So here is download this file right here. So let's say open. Bring this up any day now. Here we go. This is what it looks like. It's got 3 artboards. The first one is exercise where you're playing with the pencil tool, and you can also use the other ones here. You don't have to use just the pencil tool. I'd use the pencil tool, try with the pen tool here, and then maybe the curvature tool here. If you want to do all with the pencil tool, okay. The rest of them you're going to be using with the pen tool. This is an exercise sheet for how to use the pen tool, and it gives you kind of instructions on how to use the pen tool. Because some of these is where you're dealing with combination anchor points. So we have straight line right here and a curved line meeting up with it right here, and this gives you all the little tips and tricks of how to do that. And this one you can use a combination of all the tools again. You can use the curvature tool, you can use the pen tool, pencil tool, shape tool, however you want to do. You're just going to try and draw this butterfly. We do want you to draw the shape of the butterfly, make it the same, but then you can make it whatever colors you want it to be. So you can have all, and you can use any of the drawing tools with this one. So you can use the shape tool if you want. You can use the shape tool and then use the pen tool in connection with the shape tool. And then you also want to write a short paragraph, about 50 words, on what tools you used, and how you recreated the butterfly shape. And you can actually just write that right here on this artboard right there, right underneath the butterfly. So you don't have to submit something separate for that, but that's what the assignment is going to be this week. So I'll go through that, and that will give you some really good practice with the pen tool, with the drawing tools. So let's look at one of the sample pieces. And if you want to do the assignment first before you take the quiz to familiarize yourself with the drawing tools, that's fine. You can do that. That's actually a good idea. This is the first one with the pen tool, the pencil tool. See what I mean about the pencil tool? Pencil tool ends up like this a lot. So if you end up like this, that's okay. This is just a practice. This is just draw the best you can without making adjustments afterwards. So this part can be messy because this is where you're just practicing. This is the first time using all of these tools. And this is the pencil tool, and it's just going to look like that. If you have a really, really steady hand and really good hand-eye coordination, you might make it look better. But you might look worse than this, so that's okay. So that's one of the reasons I don't care for the pencil tool. Then you try it using the pen tool. You see, pen tool gives you a lot more control. So that looks much nicer there with the pen tool. And this one using the curvature tool. The curvature tool is used mostly for curves. If you hold down the Option key or the Alt key on a PC, you can make the curvature tool go in straight lines. So you can use both of them. So you can try that and see how it goes with the curvature tool. Now this is the exercise page. This is you follow the instructions just like it says. It will tell you exactly how to do it because there is a learning curve. You're not going to be able to use the pen tool right away like that because you're not quite used to it yet. So this is why it's giving you directions on how you want to use it. So it's using straight lines, then one using curved lines, multiple curves, curves with corner points, curves with corner points going this way. You see each one's a little bit different. Combining curves and straight lines together, and using the corner points and tweaking handles. So you see, these don't have to be perfect. As long as it looks like it's close and that you're trying to follow the instructions, that's good. That's the exercise page. And this is the one recreating the butterfly. So this is the one where you can use all of them, and you can also go back and kind of fix things if you want to. You can tweak your lines, your anchor points, your handles to make it look the way you want. You see on the first page, you don't want to do that because you're just practicing. On the second page, you don't want to use that. You don't want to use that till the last one. I think you're allowed to use it in the last one. But you can also, if it didn't work the first time, you can delete it and try again. All right, here's the second example. Looks basically the same. Pencil tool, pen tool, curvature. He still does not have to be perfect. It's just like you're giving it a shot and reading the instructions. And you can do more with the butterfly. So when you get to the butterfly, you can add gradients, you can add multiple colors, you can try to make it look like a real butterfly. You can make it not look like a real butterfly. You just need to make the shapes and the outlines match the shapes and the outlines in the original. When it comes to colors, you can go nuts. You can have fun with it. Yeah, this assignment is not the most creative in the world because you are just following the instructions. But that's because we also want you to get comfortable with the pen tool and the drawing tools first, and then you'll be able to work much better and you'll be able to be more creative once you are more familiar with the tools. So we're going to work with the tools. All right, so we're back to, I set up everything on Essentials again. We're in the Essentials workspace. So first one we're going to try the pencil tool. Pencil tool is down here. You might see it as the brush tool. Brush tool is handy too, but we're going to be using the pencil tool right now. Brush tool is more for kind of sketch effects type of drawing, as opposed to making, straightforward kind of vector shapes. That's what we want to use the pencil tool more for, the pen tool mostly for. Okay, so the pencil tool is actually fairly intuitive. You just click and drag with your mouse. Once you let go of the button on your mouse, your shape is finished drawing. So you have to hold down the button on your mouse the whole time you are drawing. So I'm going to try and follow along. Yeah, that's actually not working too bad. Oh, there we go. So I said the pencil tool has gotten better in recent years, but I have to make sure I hold down the button on my mouse the whole time while I'm drawing. Oh, that didn't go well. But this one, we're not going to go back and adjust things. Just going to keep going. If you do end up like this, you can start again. Click and hold one more time. There you go. So that is your basic pencil tool. Now we're going to try drawing this little guy here. And this does not have to be perfect. This is just getting used to the tools. You see someplace it ends up kind of rounded, but that's all right. And if you do decide that you like using the pencil tool, you can use the pencil tool more if you want to. I will think once you get started with them, you will probably like the pen tool better because it gives you more control. But this one is a bit more intuitive because you just start drawing and you just keep going. although your finger does start to get sore holding down the button the whole time. There you go. So I've made the outline. Now I'm going to make the inside of the ear, inside of the eye. There we go. Let's move over. Little fish is next. And there we go. I thought I started drawing, but I did not. So now I'm starting again. And these ones here are just outlines, so it's not going to matter if you end up with open paths or not. So don't worry about that here. There you go. Draw his little eye, little gill, and this little wave. So they're showing some curved examples, some straight examples. Oh, that's interesting looking. Now we're going to move on here to clicking the wrong thing. This is when we're going to go on to the pen tool. So I'm going to switch to my pen tool up here. With the pen tool, you don't have to click and hold like you do with the pencil tool. Every time you click with the pen tool, you create an anchor point. I clicked once, then I let go. So I move my mouse, but I'm not clicking the button. You see I moved it over here. It's showing that green line. It's showing you what the line is going to look like if I click right here. So each time I want to change directions, I click on my mouse or tap on my trackpad or click on the drawing palette. Trying to remember my mind is blanking on what I'm trying to say. Drawing tablet, that's what I meant to say. Same palette instead of tablet. So I click each time I want to change directions, and then I let my finger up. And I will have this little predictive line that tells me what my line is going to look like. All right, now see when I get to the very end, you see how the pen tool gets that little circle next to it? The little circle means that I've reached the point to where I started, so now I will have a closed path. So this is a closed path complete shape. This part, closed path, is not necessary, so you don't have to worry if it doesn't close entirely, but you will want to know that for when you are making closed shapes, because that's a handy thing to know. Because sometimes you can get really close to having a closed shape, but then not. So if you do that, you just have to go back and close it manually. But if you watch for that little circle next to the pen tool icon, that will tell you if you have closed your path. So click each time I want to change directions. If I don't want to change directions, I just let it go and drag to the next spot. Because see, if I keep clicking, I'll just have a lot of random anchor points I don't need. And the more anchor points I have, the less smooth my line will be. So I generally want to have as few anchor points as possible to create my shape, because that will make it have the most kind of smooth line, and it will enlarge easier. It will also take up less memory, although anchor points don't take up a ton of memory to begin with, so extra anchor points really won't do that much. But if you have a lot of extra anchor points, it will take up a lot of memory. And one of the good things about vectors is that they take less memory than rasters do. So your file sizes are smaller. Okay, here we go, close point. All right, so for my ear, do that. Now this is, I'm leaving it as an open path. You see when I have an open path, when I don't go to finish it, I have this little tail dragging along with my pen tool, because my pen tool wants to finish that path. So when you have that and you don't want to finish the path, you just want to end your line, you press the escape key. And that's the same Mac or PC. Press escape, that'll drop off that little tail, then you're fine. These little pink lines that keep appearing, these are telling me things like if I'm intersecting with another shape or if I'm lining up with another shape. You can turn those off, but I actually think they're helpful, so I leave them here. If I'm doing a curved shape for the pen tool, I want to click and drag. That's how I add handles. So I'm going to click and drag just a little bit to add handles to my shape. Okay, so I have made the round eye. You see it's not terribly round, but that's okay because I'm practicing. Don't use this circle shape tool here. We want to practice with the pen tool. Go ahead and make the pen tool with a curved shape. It's going to look a little funky. That's all right. All right, now little fish. Same thing. Go through. Only use an anchor point when I want to change directions. I don't need to add extra anchor points through the straight lines. By the way, changing directions, that counts for when you want to add a curve to something too. That's another time when you would use another anchor point. Okay, so I can try again with this round fish eye. I'm going to click and drag just a tiny bit. That will give me my handles. Again, drag. So circle always takes 4 anchor points to make a circle. That's sort of a circle. This one, I can click and drag in the middle. Go to the end right there. Have that tail again, press escape key, get rid of the tail. Here I want to click for my straight point here. I want to change directions because I want a curve. I do the same thing right here. Can add another one there, or I can make sure I should have had just longer handles on my directional handle here, or I can do it like that. But this part does not have to be perfect. It's to give you a feel of how all the different tools work. All right, so now we're going to try with the curvature tool. The curvature tool looks like the pen tool, got this little curve because it's the curvature tool. What the curvature tool does is it is designed especially for making curves. So it's going to make everything try to be a curve. So to do the straight lines with the curvature tool, you need to hold down. My cat, just comment in the chat says my cat is trying to bat at the mouse. So the cat is trying to hit the lines as I'm going through. My cat used to do that with video games. Okay, so I'm holding down the Option key or the Alt key if you're on a PC to make lines straight in the curvature tool. If you hold that down, you can use it just like the pen tool and just click whenever you want to change directions. And it poofed out at the end. Oh well. So this does not have to be perfect. This will give you an idea of, hey, if I want to do all straight lines, I don't need the curvature tool. I should just stick with the pen tool. It's cat TV. When I was younger, it was one of the old video games. It was the one with like, it wasn't Centipede, it was Millipede, something like that, with the bug. And you try to shoot things and then they would fall off the screen. And then my cat would try to swat at the things as they're falling down the screen, but she couldn't reach them. So she came up with a new strategy and she actually started hiding right underneath the screen. So she was trying to catch them as they fell off the screen, but then she was confused because they weren't falling down. She's like, no, I see it falling down. Where is it? Why can't I catch it? So there we go. You see curvature, not that great with straight lines because it's made for curved lines. But this will still give you a feel of how it works. There we go. Let's see how that one looks. That's interesting. It's mostly straight, a few bumps here and there. Oh, he also loves to play with Matchbox cars and is afraid of mice. Yeah, the Matchbox, he could swat them and they could. Oh. So this eye with the curvature tool probably worked fairly well. See, that is a better circle than my pen tool did with my curvature tool. And this one again will give you this tail if you don't make a closed shape or a closed path. So press escape to get rid of it. All right, I'm not going to finish the fish because it's almost 2:30, so I want to get to the exercise page. So the curvature tool actually is kind of handy, but it does take some getting used to. Okay, but this is the one we probably want to spend more time on because this is where you get into the fine details of how the pen tool works. So let's zoom in because these ones also give you instructions on the fine details of how the pen tool works, which is very, very handy. So these drawings are all like connect the dots. So I'm going to go to my pen tool. This is pen tool for all of them on this artboard. We're going to use the pen tool. Not the pencil tool, not the curvature tool. So it says number 1, click here. So click here. Now let go to number 2, click here. This one's straightforward because it's all straight lines. Click here, click here. So we're just making a star with straight lines. So I just need to click every time I want to change directions. And we're going to finish off right there. Now we've made a star. Now, a little trickier. Now we're going to try and make a circle. This gives you more exact details on how you would make a circle. So it says number 1, click and press here. Hold down the shift key. If you hold down the shift key, that makes sure that you're going in a straight line. It will keep it in a straight line. So if I hold down the shift key, click, hold, press down the shift key, drag the handle out to number 2 right here, release. Now I'm going to number 3. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm holding down the shift key just to keep it in a straight line. But I'm going to click and drag to point 4. Let go. Go to spot 5, same thing. Click and drag. I'm dragging my handle all the way out to point 6. Now the handle on the opposite side is going to go in the opposite direction, and that's fine. Just leave it be. Let go. Now I'm going to click and hold all the way back to number 2 again to make the nice round circle. So this actually shows you how to make a nice round circle. When you're using the pen tool, you're usually not going to create a perfect circle like that, but that's all right. This is showing you how you can actually do it. Now we're going to get a little trickier. This is curves with corner points. I actually think I'm going to do this one for, no, not this one. I'm missing one. Where's my, yeah, this one. Okay. I was going to say that one is harder to do. So let's do, yeah, I skipped a section. I was like, wait, that's the hard one. So we're going to start with the intermediate one. So that's 2 are the easy ones. Here's the intermediate. We're going to click, hold, press down the shift key while we're dragging at the same time. So we're holding the mouse button while we're dragging up to number 2. Now we release. Now we're moving over here, not pressing the button yet again. Now we're going to press the button now as we click and drag 2.4. Let go. You see you've got that predictive green line that's showing up. That line does not become permanent until you actually start clicking and dragging. Click and hold and drag. There you go. Now press the escape key to get rid of the tail. So I'm switching shapes so you can see it. So this makes a nice kind of gentle curve, multiple curves in one spot. Now, if you start working on this and you start messing up, that's okay. You can do it over again. You can delete one line and just start again. I'd say you could try and fix it, but at this stage where you're just learning the pen tool, it's frankly just easier to erase the one you messed up on. Just delete it and start again, because these are short sections that you're drawing, and you don't really need to get frustrated by the handles not doing what you want them to. So just get rid of it and start again. You can try multiple times on these. You can try as many times as you want. So we got click, press here, hold down the shift key. Now holding down the shift key, just make sure you stay straight. If you don't hold down the shift key, you can go off at an angle. Sometimes you want to go off on an angle. These ones you don't, so that's why we're holding down the shift key. By the way, that's the same with Mac or PC. Hold down the shift key, it will keep it straight. All right, click, hold, drag while holding down the shift key until you get to point 2, release. You can keep your finger on the shift key if that helps you. All right, so for number 3, click here and release. So I'm going to click once, release. Now I'm going to click again on that same anchor point that I just used, and now I'm going to click and drag and hold down the shift key. Now I'm going to release. Now we're going to click and release, click again on the same anchor point, and this time I'm going to click and hold and drag. This is how we make these combination corners. Click and release. Now click and drag down and release, press escape. Okay, so oop, I ended up with a little funky thing there that messed up. So I'm just going to erase that. Just click on it, press delete. Try again. Click, hold, drag down the shift key, let go, click and release. Click on that exact same anchor point, hold and drag, release. It did it again. It did it one more time. It wants to be uncooperative because I'm demonstrating. As I said, you can try it as many times as you want. This document in the background is locked down. It is on a template layer, so you will not accidentally move things around while you are trying to do this. Click, hold down the shift key, release. Go up to point 3, click and release. Now press directly on that same anchor point, drag down, release. Did it again. And if you've just got 1 or 2 of these points here and there, that's fine. Now, it went all crazy. But you can do this as much as you want. You can keep going until you get it right. If you've just got 1 or 2 minor points, I'm not going to mark down for that. If it looks like you've been working on it and you're basically getting the hang of it. If it looks like you just tried to use the brush tool for everything because you didn't want to mess with the pen tool and nothing has any straight corners, yeah, then I'll mark down for that one. It's always in that same spot. Okay. Keep going. As I said, it's not cooperative because I'm demonstrating, but I need to move on to the next one. So maybe we'll come back to that later. But I need to go to the next set because I also want to demonstrate the butterfly. I've done this 20 times in other classes and just decided it's going to be uncooperative today. Maybe my hands are shaky. All right, so again, curves with corner points. These are the combination ones where it's part curved, part straight. This is how you make these combination points. So click and press here, drag and release here. It doesn't say hold down the shift key, but you still can if you want to. And that just makes sure everything stays straight. Release. Okay, now for this one, we're going to click on this same handle, but hold down the Alt key if you're on a PC, Option if you're on a Mac, and move it, because what we're doing is we're moving the handlebar all the way up. So click and hold and drag, release. Now click again, holding down the Option key or the Alt key if you're on the PC to move that handle up. This is how we get these really nice scalloped curves. Click and drag one more, and of course, see, I've done these a zillion times, but it's not cooperating today. Although that one was closer at least. But that also lets you know, don't get too frustrated because, you know, these things happen and you just keep going. Won't try again. If at first you don't. So we try one more time. Click and release. Click and drag. Let go. Hold down your Option key. Move your handlebar up, then do the same thing. Click and drag, but don't click and drag until you get to that point. And holding down the Option or the Alt key, and it stops right there again. Both of these are conspiring with me. Conspiring against me. So you can see you can do this all the time and still have spots where it messes up on you. Try one more time, and if not, I do need to move on because I need to get to the rest of them. It says, but you do not have these time constraints. You can do it as much as you need, 230. All right. Not too bad. Click and drag, release. And I'm showing you lots of demonstrations here. Get to this point 4, release. Hold down the Option key. That moves your handle up. Now click and drag, release. Option or Alt key. Oh, now I know it. I pressed the Option key too fast on that one. That one I know where I messed up. So clicking and dragging will create a handle, and how much you drag will depend on how much of a curve you have. So the longer your handle is, the more of a curve you will have. Click and drag. And the reason why we have it all mapped out here so you can see what kind of curves you get while you're doing each one. Because if not, you're just kind of flying blind and you're not sure what kind of curves you're going to get. Okay, finally. All right, and press escape. You see, it doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be in the neighborhood. But that's how you get these scallop shapes. That's how you do these kind of combination corners. Okay, move on to the next one. This one is curves with straight lines. So here, click and press down here. Hold down the Shift key to keep your line straight. Let go. You can let go of the Shift key too. Now click and drag to here. Now we're going back up to 0.5 and we're going to click it again. So now we're changing that to go straight, click at 0.6. We're going to click on that same shape, but now we're going to click same anchor point, click and drag, let go. That won't draw anything right away, but it'll change the direction of our line. Release. Now we're going back to the same anchor point, we're clicking on it again, and then we're going to go straight. This is how you create these combination corners. So you can have a curved and a straight line meeting together. Let go, press escape to get rid of that tail. So this has got curves, straight lines mixed together. Okay, now this is the last one on this page. Zoom out so you can see it a little better, and then we'll zoom back in to see the directions. This is a very skinny little swoosh. So to do this kind of really tight curves is where you need to work with some of these anchor points. And see, this one you can move the handles around if you want to make it match up, or you can just try doing it all in one shot. All right, so get our pen tool again. Just to click, press, drag all the way out to number 2. So we're just following, we're just connecting the dots, following the instructions. Release, go to 0.3, click, drag all the way down to 0.4, let go. For 5, we're going back up to this point, gonna click again, and I'm gonna zoom out because I can't see 6. All right, because I couldn't see 6, let's just start over again. Click and drag all the way down to 0.2, release. Go to 0.3, click, drag down to 0.4. Release, go back up to 0.5, click once. Now click and drag to 0.6, which is all the way down here. This is where I got lost. There we go. Release. Now we're going to 0.7. Click, press, and drag out to 0.8. release. Now if we're going to point 9, we're going to click on point 9 and hold down Option or Alt. Option if you're on a Mac, Alt if you're on a PC. So it says hold down Alt or Option key, click and press this anchor point again. There we go. Now we're going to click and drag to point 10. So it's release and then click and drag to point 10. Now go to point 11, click and drag all the way up to point 12. Release one more time. Going to point 13, click and press the anchor point again. So we're clicking in the same spot. Now we're going to click and drag to point 14. So we clicked on that like 3 times. But yep, that's what you're supposed to do. Release. Now we're going to point 15. Now this one says hold down Alt or Option key and press the anchor point. And then click and drag to point 16, and it went a little screwy. So we can try one more time, or the next time I will also show you how you can move your options, move your anchor points around. Release, go to point 3, click and drag to point 4. Release, go to point 5, click once, then click and drag again to point 6. Release, go to point 7, click and drag to point 8. Release, go to point 9, click and press Alt or Option, then click and drag to point 10. Release, go to point 11, click and drag. You see how much of a curve you can get, how much the curve changes when you drag out this far. Release, go back to 13, just click it once and release, then click and drag to point 14. This is how you get these really skinny shapes. And there you go. Now, if you want to tweak it, get your direct select tool, select it. Now remember, you have to select a point in order to change it. So these ones that are curves will have 2 handles on each side. These ones that are combinations will have 1 handle on each side. So drag your handles to change the shape of your curve. So if you want to see, you can see some where some of the handles don't quite line up with the outlines. I can drag them so they actually do line up with the outlines to make it more of this, again, really skinny, swooshy shape. So that's how you do the exercise page. Now the exercise page is all using the pen tool because this is just to help you learn how the pen tool works. If you do this thing, what does the pen tool do? If you do this thing, what does the pen tool do? If you want to do this, how do you make the pen tool do that? So this one, make sure you do all with the pen tool. Now when you move on to the butterfly, you can use any of the tools that you want to. You just want to make it look like the butterfly fits. So the butterfly is like the animal from last week. Kind of look at it first before you start drawing. Figure how would be a good way to make these shapes. How should they be stacked together? What should you do? Because you can just kind of trace over each one. You can also use the shape tools in this one. So if you want to make some of these circles with just the ellipse tool, you can do that. You can go ahead. You do not have to use the pen tool for this one here. When you start drawing the butterfly, just keep everything with a black outline and no fill. You can go back and change that once you're finished. But no fill means you'll be able to see what you're drawing, see what's going on. But also remember, when you're using something with no fill, if you want to select that shape, if you select in the middle of a shape with no fill, it usually won't work. You have to select on the stroke. Since there's no fill, Illustrator just doesn't see it. So if you're selecting something with no fill, make sure you click on the stroke. So all these ones that are just circles or ovals, yes, you can use just the circle or oval tools. You can manipulate these ones. On the pen tool exercises, you didn't really want you to tweak them because you wanted to practice them. These ones you can change around. You see, I'm focusing on one side right now because I'm just going to do one side and then I'm going to flip it over like I was doing last week with the animal drawing, because these are basically symmetrical. I think you have to rotate it a tiny bit. So once I draw this side, I can flip it over and make it draw this side. So look at it, figure out how I want my shapes to line up. So basically I want to do all of these shapes as separate shapes and then maybe a big shape for the wing in the background. The wing, I know I wanted the pen tool because it's got lots of little bumps in it and it's not all completely smooth. Spots I can use the circle tool for, that's fine, or ellipse tool more accurately. I will also have to do this part of the butterfly body. You can also, if you have a circle that you already drew, you can copy and paste that circle. If you hold down the Option key while dragging, it will make a copy. So if you select a tool and then you're going to drag it, if you hold down Option or Alt if you're on a PC, that will make a copy of the shape you are creating, of the shape you are dragging. This one's kind of a long and skinny shape, so let's see what it looks like if I made a long and skinny oval. That works pretty good. Let's zoom in. Because you can start with the shape tool, and then you can tweak it by moving the individual anchor points. So this is where I clicked on an anchor point and then moved it with my arrow key. I'm clicking on this one, and I'm moving these handles out of it. If I move my handles out, I change the shape of my curve. So that fits with that one a little bit better. If I wanted to use my pen tool, if you want to do the whole thing with the pen tool just to practice, go right ahead. And that's close enough. So you can also on this one use your reflect tool like we did last week. Just make sure you say copy. And I'm using my arrow keys to move it over. So you want to move it up just a tiny bit to make it match. I could use the shape tool here or I could use the pen tool because it's kind of both. If you think this stroke is too large and you can't see the details, you can make this a little bit thinner. To make your stroke thinner, go over here where it says stroke. You see this says 1 point. I'm going to change that to 1/2 point. See, now my stroke is only 1/2 point long, 1/2 point wide. And I move that up a little bit. Select that one. I can use my reflect tool again. Make sure I say copy. Let's move that over. And this one I also need to rotate just a little bit. So I do want to try and make it line up as much as possible, but I can break these up into simpler shapes. All right, I already know I'm going to need these eyes to be on top of this circle shape here, so I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, because I need these to be in the front and these to be in the back. You can wait to the end to do that, or you can do that while you're drawing it. That's just kind of personal preference. And this, I could possibly still use the shape tools for this, but I could also use the pen tool. So that one, again, is up to you. I am going to try and make everything be a closed path because I want to color these things in. I want to change the colors. So I don't want to mess with the open paths and any problems that would cause me. Part of this shape is going to be covered up by the wing, so you don't have to get quite as exact here. All right, here's the spot where I've probably got too many anchor points and it's gotten a little bit too bumpy. So if I decide I want to get rid of an anchor point, I can go to my pen tool again. I define the anchor point I want to delete. Let's say I want to delete this one. Hover over it and wait until the pen tool creates that minus sign. If I say minus sign, I will delete it, and that will delete that anchor point. Then I have one less anchor point, and it's easier for my shape to be smooth. if you want to do the opposite, if you want to add an anchor point, get the pen tool again, go to somewhere along your path, wait until the pen tool turns into that plus sign. So you need to have the plus sign to click it in to add an anchor point. If it's got like that star-shaped asterisk sign, that means it's going to create just its own separate little anchor point. It's not going to attach to an existing pathway. It has to have the plus or the minus sign. And if you want to delete points, because this is an important point here, if you want to get rid of a point, you do need to use the pen tool and erase it with the pen tool, because if you just click on the point and press delete, that will delete that whole section of the path, and now you have an open path, which I don't want. So if that's what you want to do, you can break up a shape like that and make it an open path by clicking on the anchor point and pressing delete. If you don't want the path to become open, then you would use the pen tool to erase that anchor point, but keep your path integrity, so to speak. See, I'm just tweaking these so they match the little butterfly body a little bit better. It doesn't have to be exact, just has to be kind of close. Because this is what we're practicing. See, when I zoomed in, I can see some of these were off slightly. They didn't look like they were off from my zoom out, so that's why I'm zooming in to see them better. So we got that one. And I could draw my wing right now, or I could still keep drawing my shapes. That's kind of up to you. When you are making these shapes, the ones you draw last are always on top as far as the stacking order goes. So once I finish drawing this wing, I'm actually going to send it to the back because I want the wing to be in the background. And I know already that if I color this wing in, it's going to cover up all these shapes that I already made because they were drawn first. And the first and the newest thing goes to the top. See, I'm clicking and dragging just a little bit because I only want a little bit of a change in direction. I'm not dragging out really far like on some of those pen tool exercises because I don't want my curve to go very far. I want to have a gentle curve here. But you see, I do have to change directions a lot because the butterfly wing shape is kind of organic. Well, it's completely organic actually, but you see it's kind of an organic shape. It's not going to have the same kind of shapes as a geometric shape would. I do want to make it a closed path though, because then that will make it easier to color and easier to manipulate. So I'm going all the way to the end again until I see that little, let me zoom in on it so you can see it better. So you get that little circle at the corner of the pen tool icon. That means that path is now connected. And now that I'm zoomed in, I can see where my shapes, my line or paths have not quite lined up, so I'm going to move them around a bit. Now, if you want to do the pencil tool here or the curvature tool or even use the shape tool more, that's fine. You can make those decisions as you are drawing, depending on kind of how your drawing style, how your workflow is going. I kind of think it's easier this way, so if you want to try this way, go ahead. If you want to try another way, that's fine too. You just want to make it look like the background drawing, and then you can have more creativity when it comes to coloring it. See, now I'm dragging out the handles so I get more of a curve because I need more of a curve right there. I can move the individual anchor points themselves, or I can just move the handles. So when I move the handles, the anchor point will not move, but the shape of the curve will. So it takes a little bit of experimenting to see which one looks the best. How much time? 10 minutes. Okay. All right, I'm still not going to get quite to finish everything, but I can do a little bit more. This one, again, I'm probably going to use the pen tool because it is an organic shape. It's not geometric like the shape tools would use. Although I am going to be not as exact with this one since we are running out of time now. Does anybody have any questions so far about any of these exercises, any of the drawing of the butterfly, questions about the pen tool, anything like that? None so far. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of this is just kind of practicing with it. Once you start practicing with it, getting the hang of it, it will not be nearly as annoying as when you're working with it in week 1. Because yeah, I know it can be annoying once you start with it because it's just a different way of drawing. And as you keep practicing with it, you start to get a feel for how much you need to move a handle, how long of a handle you need to have. You see on these ones, it's not very much of a curve. It's small, slight curves. So I'm just dragging just a tiny bit. See, the more you drag, the more of a curve that you're going to have. That right there, I just did undo. You can undo anchor points. So if you had an anchor point that kind of went off in a wrong direction, you can press undo, which is Command Z or Control Z if you're on a PC. And you can undo your last anchor point. And you can actually undo that several steps. So you can undo 5, 6, 7 anchor points if you don't like how they looked. And with pen tool, I'm getting even less exact. If you make a complete shape, you finish your shape, you make a closed path, you don't have to press the escape key to like get rid of that little tail dragging thing. If you have a tail dragging thing as you're drawing, that means you did not complete your path and you have an open path. So that will actually give you a hint if you have something that didn't quite connect. You shouldn't need to do any of these click and press option on the butterfly because these are all much more gentle curves. It's the extreme curves and the curves that need to meet up with straight lines are the ones that are the harder ones to draw. These are more or less gentle curves. You shouldn't need to use any of those, although you can try them if you want to. This one too, you can go back and fix things. You don't have to delete it and start again. This one's more like actual vector drawing you would be doing, which means you can go back and fix it as much as you want. So this butterfly would probably take you the longest just because it's the biggest drawing, but it's actually less complicated than the exercises are. If you did want to use, oopsie, got that little tail, that means I didn't finish my path. So I'm going to go back, finish the path right there. And actually I want to erase this anchor point. So I'm going to wait until that turns into a minus sign, click, get rid of it. If you did want to use the pencil tool, said you can do that. Pencil tool is less exact because it goes off in its own direction because it lives in its own little world. It still does that same circle when you complete your point. And if it goes off into crazy directions, you can always go back and fix them again. So you can go and tweak the anchor points, tweak the handles. Pencil tool might work faster originally, but you're going to have to go back and do tweaking. Because you see, these aren't really matching my spots that well. They're actually not doing too bad. This pencil tool used to be worse. Pencil tool used to be all over the place. And it was just like, why don't they get rid of pencil tool? It's completely pointless. Okay, well, got 5 more minutes, so I'm going to do what I have. I'm going to show you how to do the coloring, although the coloring is kind of self-explanatory. I do want to make sure I send my wing to the back. So I clicked on the wing, go to Object, Arrange, send it to the back. So now it's behind everything else because maybe I want to make my wing, I'll color the individual color points first. I can still hold down the Shift key to select multiple objects at the same time. I can also, let's select, do blue. I can also do this. I can click and drag, and click and drag will select multiple objects at the same time too. And you can also use the Shift key to deselect objects at one time. So see, I've selected all of these and the wing in the background. So if I hold down Shift key again and click, that will deselect that wing. And then I can change to another color. Now let's make it a lighter blue, and I'll just make this black background. And if I want to select all of these at once, I'm going to hold down Shift, deselect the wing again, because I'm getting rid of this black outline. You can have black outlines if you want to, or any other kind of outlines that you want. I just don't want to, so I'm getting rid of it. So see, now I'm selecting my wing. If I select all of the shapes in my wing at one time, I'm selecting everything. I can group them all together if you want to, which would just be Command G or Control G, which means anytime I click on any part of that wing, everything will be selected. I can do that, and then I can go to my Reflect tool again, double click on the Reflect tool, say Copy, and now I automatically have another wing, and I can use my arrow keys or I can use my Select tool. So I just need to tweak it just a little bit. There we go, and now I've got two wings, and the two wings are symmetrical. So if I want to do the body and these parts, these are the colors on the butterfly body. I'm going to select all of them at the same time. Let's make them all the same color. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. And if you're having a hard time getting everything to select at the same time, you can zoom in, and I'll give you a little bit more wiggle room. So kept missing this eye. I'm going to make everything here light blue. Oh, green. Sure, I'm going to make it green. That'll be a little bit different. So I've made all of those green. Now I'm going to make all of the body black. Okay, and the black body was in front, so it's covering up those colored shapes. So I will select the black body and I'll say Object Arrange, send to the back. And these two wings, I want to send them to the back as well because I want these to be in the front. So since they're grouped, I just have to click one time, hold down Shift, click one time again, Object Arrange, send to the back. And that lets those shapes come to the front. So there you go. See, I'm obviously not quite finished, but we're running out of time. So that's basically how you can do it. You can make all of these different colors. You can make them rainbow colors. You can make them all blue. You can add gradients to them if you want to. You can go nuts with the colors, but do try to copy the shapes as close as you can because that's part of the exercise. And then the last part is just write 50-word paragraphs, so a couple sentences about how you created this image. So to do that, just go right here to this T. This is the type tool. So if I click on the type tool, if I click and drag, that will give me a type box and say for this butterfly, and write it however you want because it'll just type right here onto the artboard and it will save right there on the artboard. So that's just the easiest way to do it. You don't have to mess with Microsoft Word. I used the shape tool, or I use the elliptical tool if you want to be more exact. Elliptical, I'm spelling elliptical wrong, I know. Tool, go back and fix that. Say I use the shape tool for all of the circle and oval shapes. For the wing, I used the pen tool. Just keep going. Type as much as you want. It only has to be a few sentences instead of like 50 words. And then save it from there. So I think you just save this as an A file, but let's check just to make sure. We want to make sure we get it right. Yep, saved as an AI file. So saved as the Illustrator format. So let's go to File. We're going to say Save As this time. And you're going to save it to your school folder. Design 103, Week 2, Assignment. So Design 103, Assignment 2, and your first and last name. So nothing fancy, just save as an Illustrator file. It might say Illustrator file, Illustrator document. That'll give you a .ai extension. Don't add on a .ai to the end. That will just make it confused. So save it here on Save as File Type or Save as Format. It'll give you the default. It will add the extension itself. Every so often, people try and add the extension, say .ai, but the computer doesn't actually like that. You used to have to do that a while ago, but the computer doesn't like it anymore. Okay, so that's basically the assignment for this week. The assessment is all about learning the different, is the quiz about the anchor points and handles. Remember to look for Shannon's great study aid for that one. You can have that one open while you're taking the quiz, and you also get unlimited attempts. So if you're not happy with your score the first time, go ahead and try again. You also get unlimited time, so it's the best. Oh, great. Okay, so Illustrator's not happy with me at the moment and refused to save. So if that happens, if you get that window, try again. If it still doesn't work, try saving in a different spot. But usually it just means it had a glitch and couldn't save at that moment. So if you do it again, it usually is happy. All right, does anybody have any questions about anything I talked about so far? Which is a lot, I know. You might not think of your questions right away. But if you come up with any questions, feel free to ask me. Call, text, send me an email. Talk about multi-session, anything that you want. Okay, so if that's good, then I'll end now because it's like 3:02. If you still wanted to ask me your question, I'm going to turn off the recording now, and then you can just talk there, and then you don't have to worry about it being recorded for everyone to see if you don't want to do that. Okay, so multi-session tomorrow, 12 to 2, and then again Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, basically. So you can come in and ask questions about anything that we've been working on this week or last week. All right, so if that's everything, I'll see you guys next week.